Yeah, exciting week for us. Guys did an awesome job, especially in the circumstances we were in, pulling out that game on Tuesday. It was so big for us because number one, winning. Number two, the spirit and energy of the team being rewarded by doing the right things down the stretch. And sometimes that doesn't always go your way. Going into Saturday, guys are excited. Heck of a challenge going to their place. It always is. This is an exciting game for everyone around the state. I've always said this game is so big for basketball in the state with two programs that have had a lot of success of late. They've got a heck of a team, really, really scoring the ball at a high clip, high scoring guards that are tough and experienced that can shoot, and awesome, an awesome approach and a really well coached team. So exciting challenge for us, and we're looking forward to the preparation and the game itself.
Those dynamic guards that UW has. What do you tell NJ as a freshman going against experienced guys like Blackwell and Boyd?
Well, I think it's first of all it's a team endeavor, but for all of our guards, understanding those guys are dynamic, meaning they can do a lot of different things. So it's not just about taking one thing away, and you're not gonna hold them scoreless. So it's more about trying to make some of the things they do difficult for them. When you see the games where they've really gotten rolling, those games they've really played with time, space, and comfort. And that's any team that you give that to, particularly older, experienced, talented guards, that's not a good recipe. So I think for us, we got to take our defense on the road with us, and we've got to make sure that we play a tough, physical, aggressive style without fouling. It's one thing to play the way we want to play, but have the whistle blow a bunch of times. That's no good either. You got to play that way without fouling.
You've seen Blackwell, obviously, but Boyd is the new face there. Kind of what
Yep.
has he really added to the Badgers?
Quickness. He's very electric in transition. He gets the ball down the floor as fast as anyone. Gets in the paint. He has a poise about him, and an ability, confidence in his ability to score the basketball. And I think with the combination of his shooting, but then his quickness and his burst to get in the paint, that makes him tough to deal with. As a team, we got to make sure in transition we're all getting back. I think that's the first order of business anytime on the defensive end when you're playing against good guards. And listen, those guys, they're going to get shots up. It's not about taking away all shots. It's about making them challenging.
Uh, you've run so many rotations throughout the other part of the Northern Con through 9 games. Just what have you seen? What works well? What hasn't been working well? And what do you want to take forward through this tough upcoming stretch?
We're still, learning about rotations. Obviously, Sean only played 3 games, and once he makes his way back, that impacts the rotations. You've seen, our lineups change a little bit. You've seen who we've played down the stretch change a little bit. Honestly, we're still in the process of figuring out, okay, who can we really depend on down the stretch to help us close out games on each end of the floor. Right now, while the ideal would be your 5 best offensive players and your 5 best defensive players, that's not always the case for us, and that's okay. It just means that we might sub creatively, and there's still some guys. I would say 3, 4 guys that we're working to get them going to the point where we think they can be, and where they are in practice in the game. And you can never necessarily put a calendar on that, but you want to push for that sooner rather than later. So let's be honest. Chase is a guy we want to have out there as much as we possibly can. NJ has certainly, particularly on the offensive end, shown that we're better when he's out there making plays. And we've got Ben. I think has had his stretches where he's been very, very good. Again, we got a lot of guys that help us in some ways and then need to move forward in other ways. So that's our job. That's the fun part about pushing them forward. You'll continue to see a lot of rotations, a lot of different lineups.
With Caden in the starting lineup, like going against UW's big men, like they're a little different. They step out. They're different kind of things than what Caden's used to guarding. Like what do you talk with him about?
I actually thought he had one of his best games last year against them at home, and his the spirit and energy that he brings, and the way that he impacts his teammates, way outweigh his statistics. So if you go back and you watch that video and you watch the TV copy of it and you watch up close the energy and the way he impacted his teammates, it was huge. Yes, UW's bigs, they do a good job of playing outside and in. They do a good job in their motion of moving and sprinting to the rim. So you got to play with multiple efforts. You know, whether it's Caden, Ben, Royce, Josh, or anyone else that we throw in there, you've got to play with multiple efforts. You got to move on airtime, and that's something that we worked hard at today, and we'll continue to work hard in our preparation.
You were able to get your first win, obviously, in the series against Wisconsin last year. Now you're at their place, first road game of the year. Just kind of any message, I guess, in sense of how hungry they may be, trying to get some revenge from last year against you guys.
Well, I mean, I think if you don't come into this game hungry on both sides, then there's something wrong. I think everyone in this game is always hungry. And listen, nobody wants to win more than the players, and that's the case for every single game. You know, a lot of times in rivalry games, the interest on the outside gets piqued because, you know, there may be an office where there's someone that went to this school and someone that went to that school, and there's more excitement and there's more interest. But make no mistake about it, I mean, our players year-round want to win, and that's regardless of who we're going up against. They understand the meaning of this game, but they also understand that for us to be our best on one possession requires presence. And that requires to go after being the best version of ourselves on the defensive end if we're on defense to get a team stop, and then to work together on the offensive end to get a team score. Just so happens we'll be in Madison doing that.
Chase and Nigel together, they've done a lot for you guys, both scoring. What do you like about them two on the floor together?
Well, it's been one of our best, you know, two-man pairings for sure. And, you know, if we could call timeout every 90 seconds, then, you know, we have those guys on the floor even more. But they get tired. They do, especially NJ. I mean, what's asked of him compared to high school is, you know, probably 10x. Just in terms of the energy and the multiple efforts that's required, the not resting on the defensive end, the communication, the running of a team. And so, you know, he needs some breaks. Now, again, fortunately, you know, hopefully Sean will be back very soon. And, you know, when that occurs, that gives us a chance to, you know, have him in there because, you know, he's a guy that we haven't had very much for these past couple of years. He's played 3 games in 23 months. So exciting that he'll be back soon, and exciting that, you know, we will be back to having a two-headed monster out there at the point guard spot. Chase, as a senior, is by far our best player. But as I said, we need him to be a great two-way player. We've had some games earlier this year where the offensive load that he's been under has been such that it's maybe taken away from his defense a little bit. I thought the Valpo game, even though he didn't score as much as he did in certain other games, he was a true two-way player, and he impacted our team in major ways on both ends.
So soon for Sean is not Saturday.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. We're working towards him coming back when he can, and definitely not ruling that out.
You've talked about making better rim decisions,
Oh, yeah.
finish better in the paint. Like, how
Yes.
do you coach that? Is there like a checklist of keys that you want guys to play off of in the paint?
There is, and at the end of the day, you got to make a decision to make the right play because it happens like that. I believe that we are 11th in the country at what's called rim shot selection. So what that means is we're 11th in the country at the percentage of our shots coming at or right around the rim, which is good. You want that. You want to be high in that statistic. Now, you have to pair that with making them because if you get there and you don't make them, then it's the same as any other miss. It could be from 50 feet. But I do believe our guys are going to continue to get better with that. You have to make a good rim decision, which means if there's a 7-footer there and you don't have an angle at the basket, you got to pass the ball, you know, because that guy's probably going to block the shot. Valpo, for example, had a really good shot blocker with long arms, and he got us a couple times. But it's all about the angle that you can create. That's part of the checklist, Ben. If you can create an angle to the basket, then you can either get the shot off around the shot blocker or you can attack the body and draw a foul. If you don't have an angle, then you've got to play out, unless you can just overpower the guy depending on your size compared to his size. And so these are things we work on a daily basis. We'll do something like we'll have Josh and Sheik switch onto the driver, and then we'll have them guarding that guy, and then he's got to make a decision. Can I score on Josh or Sheik? Can I gain an angle on them? Or do I have to play to one of my teammates out on the floor? And I can promise you we will get better at it. And if we can keep getting to the rim at the rate we are, that's going to be really, really good for our offense.
You talked in there about having a heart-to-heart with Zaid today. Like, what does a meeting like that look like?
I mean, we meet all the time. I mean, we probably lead the country in meetings with our players. We spend so much time together. Got guys come to my house all the time. We spend time together in my office all the time. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. We talked about the game on Tuesday, which obviously wasn't one of his best games. We talked about how valuable he is to our team. We talked about the approach that we need him to take. He's a player, even though he's a junior, he's still building in terms of confidence and knowing he can do it. We need him to, as Maya likes to say, even in the absence of confidence, fight. And, you ideally as a player, you want to be out there with high confidence and high aggressiveness. If for some reason you can't have the first one, then you better have the second one. And that's something that for our young guys, Chase is by far the most confident player on our team right now. You can see that. A blind man could see that watching us play. But for our young guys, the way to earn confidence is through sprinting the floor, through going to the offensive glass, through playing so hard that after a couple of minutes you can't breathe. And in that time, you're going to make plays in a positive way for your team defensively and offensively. And then all of a sudden, confidence will be earned. So we had some conversation about that.